Well, Modern Warfare 2 is here. No, not that one.
Clear of that chopper. Go!
Not that one either.
War crimes. Makes me want to commit a few war crimes of my own.
Yeah, that's the one.
Fucking hell. Direct. Target destroyed.
A new era of Call of Duty is here. No, that's not me saying that. That's what every billboard, bench ad, middle-aged racist on TikTok, and Bobby Kotick has been yelling at you for the past month. But is that true? Considering the Call of Duty games we got in the past 2 years, you betcha. Although, if you're still on the Call of Duty train, you know that wasn't a high bar in the first place. Infinity Ward's Modern Warfare Reboot was released 3 years ago, and it received such high levels of acclaim from the media and fans alike. The inevitable sequel had big shoes to fill when it finally hit store shelves. The reboot of Modern Warfare genuinely felt like a new era for Call of Duty. Call of Duty turning into a yearly series made those jumps in quality near impossible, and that's why fans have slowly drifted away from the series over time. Not me though. I love America, war crimes, and most importantly, dumb action movies. But due to all that and my many mental illnesses, I'm one of the few people who actually finish the campaigns in each Call of Duty game. A lot of the enjoyment I get out of each game in the series comes from the campaign, and it's a great way to see what's new in each installment. Particularly when you compare it to the multiplayer side, because the differences between each become more and more minute from game to game. It didn't used to be this way, but now with how much money goes into the series and the competitive scene surrounding it, rocking the boat too much could hurt sales, and nothing scares shareholders more than that. This is just where AAA gaming is at, and it's a bummer. But this isn't my weekly therapy session, so we're not going to go into that. The Modern Warfare reboot truly blew me away in how much of a step forward it felt for the franchise. It looked like a next-gen game on last-gen consoles. And on top of that, I'd argue the gunplay received the biggest improvement to date for the series. It felt like the fresh start the series needed, which made Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and Call of Duty Vanguard all the more disappointing. Both games took us back in time, both figuratively and what felt like literally. Cold War was a half step between the Call of Duty of old and the new standard set by Modern Warfare, and Vanguard was just a WW2 skin slapped on Modern Warfare. It was a little jarring for me because I went from the game I had played the most of in the series to 2 games I played the least of. As you can imagine, the lead up to the reboot of Modern Warfare 2 had me conflicted. It was coming from the same developers of the 2019 game, but the freshness of that had already wore off for me.
I can say the same to you.
Did Modern Warfare 2 have as much of an impact on me as the original did? Did it move the series forward like the reboot did back in 2019? Is there a cute attack dog in this game? No, that's a different game. Stop mentioning it. We don't talk about that one anymore. And sadly, the answers to all of those questions are a no.
Your turn, Sergeant!
The campaign is always the first thing I jump into in Call of Duty titles. And with Modern Warfare 2, everyone was in that same boat. The campaign released a week early for pre-orders, and as a result, I saw a lot more people actually playing it. Now, Activision has never released the numbers for how many people actually play or even beat the campaign versus overall players, but looking at achievement and trophy statistics, it's not good. Some of the games in the series, like Black Ops 4, didn't even have a campaign, and you barely saw any outrage over it, even though players were losing content as a result. Infinity Ward didn't let that impact the campaign for Modern Warfare 2, though. Clearly, a lot of work went into it, and the most accurate term I've heard used to describe it is expensive.
Copy. Let's nail this bastard once and for all, son.
Almost every level takes place in a different location across the globe, and rarely will you notice any imperfections in each new area you explore. The rebooted Modern Warfare series is nowhere near as explosion heavy as the originals, but both games still manage to wow you with their visuals and variety of environments just as much as seeing 50 explosions in 30 seconds. Although I hope the Modern Warfare 3 reboot brings back some of the explosive epic battles and moments found in the original games. Personally, that's what I think the Modern Warfare 2 campaign is missing. The more grounded tone of the Modern Warfare reboot was fine in my eyes, because I thought the story for the most part reflected that. And the original Modern Warfare felt grounded in comparison to its sequels. This Modern Warfare 2 reboot wants to have it both ways. It's operating underneath the trappings laid out by its predecessor, but it also is bringing in dumb action movie characters that the original series had all over the place. It didn't really work for me. I was aching for the story and gameplay to get properly epic. The original Modern Warfare 2's campaign had its faults, but the last thing you'd call it is boring. Every new level was a riff on a famous action movie. You could never prepare for what was coming next, and it felt like it could go literally anywhere. I remember seeing this scene in the launch trailer before the game released and thinking Modern Warfare 3 was going to take place in space. Yes, I know that isn't Modern Warfare, but I was a dumb teen, so just leave me alone. And I'd be surprised to see a full-on epic war in this new Modern Warfare series. I gotta tone down a little bit, I sound like Dick Cheney right now. Ultimately, the story in Modern Warfare 2 isn't all a wash. I think it has a better story than the original, and it doesn't have the total whiplash the Modern Warfare reboot suffered from. One of my only complaints with the original Modern Warfare 2 was that the story didn't make a lot of sense. It was very messy. Character motivations weren't earned, and it's throwing you around the world so much that you can hardly tell what was your objective moment to moment. That speed worked to its advantage though, because it knew what kind of story it wanted to tell. It knew that you wanted to rip a knife out of your chest and throw it in the villain's eye at the very end of the game. It never took itself that seriously, save for one infamous mission.
Remember, no rushing.
It took wild swings, and it was all the more memorable. This reboot of it doesn't have any of those qualities. Sure, the writing's better. Sure, there's character development, but at the end of the day, nothing in this game is as memorable as the levels in the original game's campaigns. That's not to say that the campaign's boring. I actually like the campaign quite a bit. The campaigns in Call of Duty games of late have fell into this rut of introducing new gameplay elements and dropping them the next level. It allows the developers to add some variety, but all the while not designing a game around that variety. It's something that I wish Call of Duty games would move on from, but I also remember how boring a lot of the games in the series got around the Ghosts era. Having a one-off level where you drive a vehicle in a shooter like this isn't inherently bad, but when you're just playing level after level of quirky new gameplay mechanics, it all feels disjointed. Modern Warfare 2 isn't as bad in that regard as some of the more recent games in the series, but it still suffers from it all the same. Crafting is introduced about halfway through the game for just one level, but it randomly shows up in the middle of a level toward the end. One level you might be at a party, sneaking around in plain view with multiple objectives and multiple ways of completing them, while the rest of the game you're guided around by your teammates with only one major objective. It's just a little messy. It's rarely boring or tired, but it doesn't have a soul all the same. There's only one level in the game that I think gets close to the quality of the original Modern Warfare 2. You start off in what seems like a typical helicopter gunner mission, but suddenly you find yourself thrown out of the helicopter, hanging just mere feet above a highway, and you have to gun down combatants driving past you in trucks. Oh yeah, you're also upside down the whole time. Now if that was it, you'd think, this is kinda cool, but it's still basically a turret section. But next, you're hijacking those same trucks and taking down a convoy from car to car. Now, it doesn't look as sleek as similar sequences in Naughty Dog games, but it works surprisingly well, and it had to be a difficult section to develop. It gives you a lot more freedom than you would expect in an insane scenario like this, and it matches the over-the-top nature of the original. I hope next time around Infinity Ward adds more systems that are part of the foundation of the game rather than one-off events, because they're clearly capable of it. As it stands, I can't deny that I had a fun time with the campaign in Modern Warfare 2. It's nothing mind-blowing, but if you enjoy these campaigns, I'd highly recommend it. And if you don't like these campaigns, what are you doing here? This game's campaign makes me really excited to see what Infinity Ward does with its inevitable Modern Warfare 3 reboot, because clearly they aren't resting on their laurels. They're trying new things, some things work, some things don't, but I wish those new things they would try would stick around across the whole experience. The original Modern Warfare 2 wasn't a quick cash-in sequel after the massively successful Call of Duty 4. You've seen publishers time and time again push out a half-assed sequel to a game that became a worldwide hit overnight. It was in no ways any of that. I talked about how great its campaign was for its time, but even its multiplayer changed a lot of things up and it made some huge improvements. Call of Duty wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for that game, let alone most other modern multiplayer games. There's no way the reboot of it could match its impact. Call of Duty popularized giving a progression to online competitive multiplayer shooters, and it had incredibly tight shooting on top of that. The original Modern Warfare 2 expanded your combat arsenal and allowed you to fight back more formidably against the kill streaks people used. Infinity Ward gave you new weapons and tools to handle making your way through all of the chaos that truly expanded the gameplay offerings. If you couldn't cut the frenetic quick-to-kill combat between other players, you could focus on being more of a support for your team. You could sit back and take down UAVs, helicopters, or who else knows what with your launcher. Everything it added the series doubled down on over time. As I mentioned, I didn't expect Modern Warfare 2 to have anywhere near that impact. I was just hoping for more Modern Warfare, because that game still plays better than 99% of other shooters. Specifically the feel of the gunplay. Luckily, Modern Warfare 2 is no different. The gameplay improvements may be small, but it still feels just as satisfying as the 2019 game. At first glance, improvements might seem like a strong word. Since 2019, things have changed a lot for Call of Duty. Warzone released that next year, and it was a massive success. Turning Modern Warfare into a free-to-play battle royale meant so many more players jumped into it, and they actually were able to feel how great that game plays. With Warzone even still getting improvements until this year, how was the reboot of Modern Warfare 2 going to have marked improvements over its predecessor? Modern Warfare 2 feels like a recentering of Infinity Ward's initial idea for what they wanted Modern Warfare to go. They've limited some of the movement options, specifically all the slide cancels people would pull off, which I'm personally a fan of because that always broke my immersion. But they've given you some new options in return. Sliding is still in, but you also have the option to dive, which finally unites theirs and Treyarch's Call of Duty titles. You can also climb objects that are above waist length, and on top of that, you can use your pistol while hanging. But ultimately, none of the maps feel like they're designed around these new movement options. I am hopeful new maps could take advantage of this, considering all of the post-launch support Modern Warfare received. At the end of the day, the multiplayer for Modern Warfare 2 really is just more Modern Warfare. How much that matters to you depends on your feelings on the first game, but if you never played that, I can't recommend Modern Warfare 2 enough. Yes, the improvements are sparse, but you're going to be getting free post-launch support like maps, and it does perform and feel better. It's got 10 6 vs 6 maps and 4 big team maps that house up to 64 players. And the quality of maps is at a much higher level than Modern Warfare's launch maps. When it comes to the progression and weapons offered, I thought the game seemed a little rote. Once I started to dig into it though, I found that I actually enjoyed some of the changes buried inside. Specifically the changes tied to weapon progression and their attachments. Most of the attachments are shared between weapons, which gives you a reason to try out different ones and unlock different attachments for your favorite weapons. Pushing the player to use different weapons subtly shows the player how differently each weapon feels. That's something that the reboot of Modern Warfare nailed, and this just continues that tradition. Lastly, one of the minor improvements made to Modern Warfare 2 that stuck out to me is the new helmet cam. The new modes, Safe for Invasion, which is a surprisingly fun team deathmatch ground war mode with AI thrown into the mix, all center around respawns being limited. Me heralding something as small as the helmet cam shows how little in quantity the gameplay improvements are in Modern Warfare 2. There's definitely some bigger changes, such as being able to swim around certain maps, but those are all limited to those maps. You don't have that option in 75% of the maps, so as it stands, it ends up being minor. No matter, I still find myself having to pull away from playing more of the multiplayer, because it just feels so great to play. Each weapon feels different, and they all feel satisfying. The maps aren't bad, and the ground war offerings are a lot better this time around. Spec Ops is also a much more finely tuned experience this time around too, but I personally wish they'd go back to the more linear levels of the past games. The other changes amount to small balance tweaks and making some powerful perks, ones you have to unlock in-match rather than having them from the get-go. Similar to Ultimates and MOBAs and Overwatch 2. But at the end of the day, I'd be lying if I didn't say it's just more Call of Duty. You knew whether or not you were in for that even before this released. And what's here isn't going to change your mind. As much as the reboot of Modern Warfare 2 is just more Call of Duty, I still consistently find myself being drawn to grinding out weapon attachments and getting those numbers up. I might seem slightly negative on it, but that comes from wanting more from it. As I said before, there's no way it was going to move the genre forward as much as the original did. But I was hoping to see Infinity Ward do more with the groundwork laid out by 2019's Modern Warfare. They didn't rock the boat too much with Modern Warfare 2, but what's here is still one of the best online shooters you can find on the market. Season 1 starts next week, and that's going to bring more content on top of Warzone 2 launching. And rumor is next year Activision is releasing a Modern Warfare 2 expansion instead of a full title, and I really hope it includes some single player or just more experimental content. If you've checked out Warzone and were a fan of it, or a Call of Duty fan old or new, you can't really go wrong with this. That's why I give it 4 war crimes out of 5. I'm sorry, Call of Duty. Maybe eventually you'll get to that fabled 5 war crimes out of 5. Thanks you all for watching my review. I really appreciate you watching and sticking around to the end. I will say, right now, I am streaming 24 hours for Extra Life over on twitch.tv/Melich924. MELECH 924. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to have a bunch of stretch goals for horror games. I know I said I wasn't going to do scary games, but I'm an idiot. Please join me. Please donate. It's for the kids. Thanks you all. If you like this video, like, subscribe, do the stuff. I'm not going to do dumb jokes about smashing the button. I don't care. Just please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks you all. I'll see you next time.